right, everybody stop in.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys for joining us live on YouTube, our amazing live audience tonight. This is a night of first for me, for a lot of folks out here, I think. So this is our first ever live program with a live audience. First of all, I'm so thankful that you guys are here tonight. I so appreciate your love and support this evening. I'm so thankful that you are here tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I so appreciate it. And of course, we've got to thank our partners and our sponsors tonight. First and foremost, Denigris Vinegars. They are our hosts for the evening. We are in their kitchen. Yes. And of course, for the folks that were here live, we had Sandra Zadi representing Al Passion Wine, pouring some wine downstairs. We had Tina Marcelli from Marcelli Formaggi serving up some antipasto for everybody. So we thank them so much. And of course, we also want to thank Fossil Farms, who helped us out with the show as well today. So again, thank you to those companies. It's good to have friends in the business. All right, guys, let's get down to it. Think you ready to cook? Yay! So our first recipe is going to be a carrot ravioli and a carrot top pesto. And so I wanted to do this because I wanted to show that you can use the entire carrot. So when you see them at the store, I saw this at the store literally the other day when I was shopping for the show, that somebody had torn just the green tops off of the carrots that they sell like that. And I said, it's such a shame that they don't realize that you can use that. They're perfectly edible. Carrots are actually relatives of parsley. So you're going to get like a nice herby kind of parsley flavored pesto out of those carrot tops. But what we did was I peeled and boiled some carrots, and these are just fork tenders. So fork tenders, it only takes about 10 minutes. Fork tenders, literally, you can just simply drop a fork into them, and it's going to go through without you putting a lot of pressure onto it. So that's just what we mean when we say fork tender. That's where you want those carrots. You're going to put them into either a blender or a bowl. You're going to use a stick mixer. And just make a little bit of a carrot puree. So something really simple like this. This is how we're going to flavor our pasta. So I've got some flour. I put a little bit of salt. We're going to put some of our puree. And of course, if anybody's wondering about exact amounts, you're going to pop on over to the website after the show is over, and I will get everything up for you. We're going to get that in there. And still 1 egg. So I've got about a half cup of flour. We're going to do 1 egg and the carrot puree. If your egg goes running like mine just did, don't panic. You're just going to toss a little bit of flour on it, and it's going to make a little blockade and stop it. It's fine. So while I get this mixed up, I'd like to invite Jason. I'm going to say your last name wrong.
Say it, Topolesky.
Topolesky.
Perfect.
Jason Topolesky from Denigris Vinegars to the set. He's a cameraman's nightmare. He's 16 inches taller than I am. As I say, so we're
going down.
He's going to lean down. I'm going to make some pasta. Jason, tell us a little bit. First of all, thank you.
No worries. Anytime.
Tell us a little bit about yes. At this point, yes. Tell us a little about Denigris in general, the company itself.
So Denigris, we're a 134-year-old master vinegar manufacturing family out of Modena, Italy. So we started our process out of Naples, and then within the next 80 years, 134 years ago, we moved up to Modena, and we started manufacturing balsamic vinegar after red wine vinegar. And now we're actually the largest balsamic vinegar producers in the world.
It's incredible.
Yes.
You guys do an awesome job.
Come on, give it up. Give it up.
So what is it? Because I think a lot of folks don't realize that balsamic vinegar is like Parmigiano Reggiano, prosciutto di Parma. It is a regionally exclusive product. So what should folks look for when they're purchasing balsamic vinegar?
It is. It's a certified product. So balsamic vinegar of Modena, it has to come from the region of Modena. And it has to be IGP or in English, PGI certified. What that means is protected geographic indication. And what that means is we have a third-party auditor that comes in, and this is all balsamic vinegar manufacturers that comes in and actually audits our process to make sure that we manufacture with the traditional balsamic vinegar manufacturing process. A couple of things that will give you an indication of that. every balsamic vinegar of Modena IGP will have an IGP certification seal, and I'm sure Cara can share that on her website, as well as there's a couple of key indications. I'll give you three. Three different varietals of grapes are used, or we have a selection of 7, but the predominant are 3. So it's Sangiovese, Trebbiano, and Lambrusco. These are the 3 predominant grapes that are used in balsamic vinegar. The other couple of key points to look for is it has to have the certification seal, and it also has to be 6% acidity. If it doesn't have a 6% acidity, if it doesn't have a certification seal, you may or may not want to trust what you're buying at the store.
And can you tell us a little bit about the process of making vinegar? Because I'm going to be using Denigris products throughout all of our recipes this evening.
Okay.
And kind of starting at the beginning, I'm going to be using the La Saba. La Saba. Which is, explain to them what La Saba is.
Okay, so La Saba, or depending on the region of Italy from where you're from, it's a traditional Italian condiment, and it's known as La Saba, or vincotto, vinicotto, or mustacotto. Loosely translated, it means cooked wine. But unfortunately for the audience, it's not really wine. It's actually cooked grape juice. That's all that means. So vincotto or La Saba, it's grape juice that is used, that is pressed from the fresh harvest, that is reduced down by 1/3 of its original volume, and that's Saba, or vincotto, or mustacotto, or vinicotto. This actually is the key ingredient in balsamic vinegar. A lot of people, you'll go into stores, you go into shops, and everybody's about age, age, age. It has very little to do with age when you're talking about commercial or consumer grade balsamic vinegar. If you're talking about gifting balsamic vinegar, that's traditional DOP balsamic vinegar of Modena. When you're talking about everyday grocery store vinegar, that's PGI or IGP balsamic that we were talking about. The key ingredient is actually Saba. So the more cooked grape must, or the more cooked grape juice that's in the formula of balsamic vinegar, the higher the quality, the sweeter it is, the more expensive it is, and the more dishes that you can use that for. So you could use that for topping. The more Saba in it, the higher the quality. You can use that for actually topping vanilla ice cream and cheesecake, so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just really briefly, and because I love that you mentioned that, Denigris makes a variety of products. What sort of things are your, so the Saba is good in a lot of things. We're actually using it again on top of pasta, even though it's actually kind of sweet. So it's going to balance the bitterness of the herbs in the pesto. But when folks are buying the Denigris vinegars, you have a range of products. You have different percentages and stuff like that. What in general should you look for if you're using it for salad versus for maybe topping meats or something like that?
No, so for a dressing or a marinade, you want to look for a balsamic vinegar that has a lower percentage of grape must in it. So ours, you would look for a White Eagle or a Bronze Eagle balsamic vinegar, and that means it has between a 25 and a 35% grape must. You step up, and then if you start wanting to add heat to the pan, or you want to start cooking with that, you're going to look at a 35 to a 45% grape must. That's between our bronze again and silver, and at the bottom line of our gold. And then if you want to start looking for something that you really want to do gifting, or you want to dress like Cara was talking about, or I was talking about, a dessert, cheesecake, or a vanilla ice cream, you want to look for the highest concentration of grape must in that. So that's going to be at a 65 or a 75% grape must. That would be our Founders Edition or our Platinum Edition as well.
Very nice. Jason, thank you so much. Yeah,
I
appreciate it.
Good luck. Thank you.
So obviously, while Jason was talking, I got through most of the way through the pasta dough. But generally what you're looking for is you want a really nice, flexible dough that you can kind of put a fingerprint in, and it's going to start to bounce back at you a little bit. And it should be nice and smooth, really elastic, and a little bit tacky still, especially because we're going to be making ravioli. So we want the dough to fold over itself. Actually, before I get to this, let me just show you guys really fast. The simplest way to do this, especially at home, and if you don't have fancy pasta equipment, right? So maybe you don't have a pasta machine or one of the KitchenAid ones. If you do use it, that's going to make your life easier, okay? But I always like to show people the most basic version of something just because you don't need fancy equipment to make good, delicious, wholesome foods at home. So literally just an empty wine bottle will work here, okay? But whatever you got, all right? So just hang on to those. But you can just roll this out. I rolled this dough, this sheet here, by hand a little bit earlier this afternoon, and you can just get a really nice thin sheet of pasta dough, even by hand. And that's really all that you're looking for something like this. And in this case, because we're making ravioli, we're going to make them a long sheet of dough. And I'm just going to take a little bit of our filling here. So this is a very basic ricotta filling that I did with some honey, a little bit of thyme, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So again, I really wanted to think about the flavors in both the carrot pasta as well as the carrot top pesto. So I was just trying to think of things that kind of all went along. And, you know, we're heading into fall. We've had some really beautiful weather here in New Jersey. So I wanted to kind of stick with the season. So that is what is in our filling. So we're just going to dot that along. We want to leave a little bit of space. And we're just going to take our pasta sheet and fold it right up and over here. And this is my favorite thing that I learned in Italy one time. A chef in Italy taught me on one of our trips. See how your thumbs kind of make parentheses? This is the best way to seal up pasta. So you're just going to go right around the filling and kind of press down. Okay, we want to make sure we don't have any air bubbles in there because then they're going to pop open on us. But that's all we really have to do. And then we're just going to take, nice sharp knife and cut them up. We're going to leave a little bit of an edge. I'm going to cut some of these so they're all kind of the same size. We want them to be about the same size as they cook. But just cut these off. So if anybody's ever made empanadas, if you've ever made, every culture has a dumpling of some sort. These are ours. But making them all kind of comes out about the same, right? And you can do it simply at home. You don't need fancy equipment. Take a little fork and just seal up these edges. Make sure none of that filling comes out on us. Now, of course, you could go above and beyond and really use a ravioli mold or some other pasta tool if you wanted to. But again, I always like to show folks that it's simple and easy to do at home with things that you already own. You don't have to spend a lot of money to make stuff like this. So we'll just get these finished up. And I'm going to ask Chef Risa to put the pesto ingredients behind me there. And we'll set these aside. And I'll show you guys how to make that pesto. Thank you, love. So pesto in Italian just means pulverized. So you can actually make pesto with just about anything. Typically, we think of pesto as pesto genovese, which is basil pesto. That's the one that we're all most familiar with. But this works across the board. So again, you could do it with carrot tops, carrot greens like we're doing tonight. You can do it with roasted red peppers. Thank you. Really anything. You can do it with, we've got one on the website that is actually white pesto. So it's walnuts, bread soaked in milk, and some Parmesan cheese. So this one is going to be the carrot tops. I'm putting in a little bit of mint. Thank you, Reese. We've got some, Reese, I did pecorino or Parmesan on this? I did pecorino, right? Pecorino. Clove of garlic. We're going to zest in a little bit of lemon. So again, just getting a little bit of brightness and citrus in there. How many of you folks in our live audience cook at home? Yes. Yes. That's what I like to hear. How many of you make fresh pasta at home? Little lighter, but good. Still good. Okay. Still good. You guys are doing all right. But again, it's really simple just because all you have to do is kind of get it into some sort of machine. You're just going to blitz, blitz, blitz. Just start to get it chopped up. And then from there, we're just going to drizzle in our olive oil. And this you just want to do, again, I always encourage folks, your food is your food. We're not cooking at a restaurant. You're just trying to get dinner on the table, right? And you want to do a good job. So if you like your pesto to be really thin, add a little more olive oil to it. If you prefer it be thicker, leave it, just like this. And where's my spoon? So it's the texture, the consistency, it's up to you. You're going to make your food your way. I'm just here to give you an idea. So that is really easily how we make our pesto. I'm going to get this stuff out of the way, and we'll finish up these ravioli. Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to give you this. Okay. So with pasta, the thing that you always want to make sure that you're doing is putting your sauce into a little saute pan, even just on low nearby the stove, because you want to finish cooking your pasta in that sauce. That's what's going to give it lots of flavor and help the whole dish come together. So when you're making fresh pasta, it's super easy to cook. You can either freeze ravioli and cook them later. Don't let them thaw. Or we are going to cook these. I'm going to turn this the rest of the way up. Is that the right one? Yes. There we go. We'll cook those up. Fresh pasta only takes about 2 to 3 minutes to cook, and the best indicator is simply that it's going to float to the top of the water. That's how you're going to know when it's done. Something like a stuffed pasta, like a ravioli, you might want to give it an extra minute just because the edges have that double layer that they want to just cook all the way through. Reese, I think I have a spider around here somewhere. Thank you, ma'am. Spider, interesting name for a kitchen tool, right? Well, we'll just let these cook up. And Reese, if I can have this, there we go. So again, we're going to be finishing this with that lasaba that Jason was explaining to us. And I like to do this, again, with pastas. This goes really well with a butter sauce. So if you were doing like butter and sage, you could top it with a little bit of this. It goes well with the pestos, again, because of that herbiness. The sweetness kind of balances things out as well. So there's a lot of ways that you could use this particular product, not just in desserts, but also in savory things. And so let's see. We're getting there. So we're going to pull these out, let them strain. A little bit of pasta water is always something that you want to finish your dishes with as well, because it's going to actually help the sauce cling to the pasta. So we'll get these going. Reese, I'm grabbing a wooden spoon. We just want to get these coated. We'll let them finish up. And these can go right into our dish here. Last little bit of pesto. And again, we're just going to drizzle on that saba to finish this dish. Nice. All right, guys, coming up in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you guys how to make a really delicious fall pork chop dish. Commercials? I'm Cara Falco, and this is good job, guys. We got 2 minutes. 5 ingredients or less: water, salt, pepper, and olive oil. Don't count. Today we're making basil balsamic strawberries. This is a super fast and easy dessert dish. We're using vinegar balsamic flavor. We're just going to get the greens off our strawberries and slice them up. Get those into our bowl, and we're going to hit them with a little bit of sugar. A fancy word for this is masticate. We're going to grab some fresh basil leaves, stack them up with your basil with the berries, the top, drizzle in your vinegar balsamic glaze. These make the perfect ice cream topping. so much. For you guys watching at home, these folks are literally holding me up this evening. They are making it all worth my while, absolutely. So for our next dish, we are going to make some pan-seared pork chops with a delicious pan sauce using Vinegar's apple cider vinegar. Short people problems. We're going to be using their apple cider vinegar to make our sauce this evening. And we're going to also complement that with some roasted roots. So this is one of my favorite combinations. So we've actually got a little bit of fennel. Now I always struggle with this in the grocery store because in my head I always use the Italian word. So I use finocchio, and I always do self-checkout. And to save my life, I can never find fennel on the stuff because in my head it's finoc. And I'm like, what am I making? I can't figure out what the heck I'm buying. But you're going to get the bulb. You're going to take the tops off and the bottom. And we are just going to slice this. And we'll get that in with our veggies that Chef Reese so kindly prepared for us. And we're going to combine this. And I love roasted fennel. A lot of times you can actually just eat it raw. And it has that anise flavor to it, which is another word for it. But I always love it. My grandfather always used to eat it after dinner, and he would tell everybody it aids the digestion, which it does. So we're also going to use some sweet potatoes. So again, coming right back into season this time of year. We just kind of want to cut this stuff into chips. So large pieces. You don't have to go too crazy with it. We'll get those in there. And so we're going to be combining that with a little bit of apple as well. Which again, fall, Jersey, Garden State, we do apples. We do it well. So we'll get these, do this without taking a finger off on live TV. And get that in there. Now these we are going to coat with, did I lose it? We've got some fresh herbs. So I'm going to be using some sage and rosemary on these. Get that in there. A bit of salt. I'll talk to you about salt in a second. And I have olive oil. And it's nice and hot. Coat those with a bit of olive oil. These are going to go on a cookie sheet into about a 400-degree oven. And you want to roast them only for about 30 minutes. You don't have to go too crazy here. I'll just mix this with my hands. And you can do that at home too. You could certainly use a spoon, but it'll work out just fine this way too. We'll get everything into a nice even layer. And we just want to roast these until they start to brown. Your potatoes are cooked through. So like I said, about 400 degrees for 30 minutes. So we get a little TV magic here for everybody. Oh my goodness, look at that! So with our veggies, of course, we've got our pork chops, right? So and this is what came from Fossil Farms. We got to thank our friends over at Fossil Farms. They shared these with us. Are they not beautiful? So these are boneless pork chops. We're going to salt them and pepper them on both sides. So for everybody, especially my mother who's looking at this and going, oh my God, so much salt. Here's the thing about salt. It's got to get all the way through the meat, number one. And number two, salt is different. I actually always tell people when I do cooking classes to taste your salt. So if you have a really fine grain of salt like this, it's going to get into the food faster. It's going to take less for it to be absorbed versus a coarse grain salt. So you just want to keep that in mind as you're seasoning your food and going through it, because a lot of times what will happen is if you've got that coarser grain salt, which we all love, it's beautiful, it's very fancy, but it's not always necessarily the best for cooking because it's going to take a little bit. So you're adding salt, you're adding salt, you're adding salt. It's taking too long to get into your food. And the next thing you know, now your food is too salty. So that's why you just want to, again, I actually tell people to taste your salt because salts will have different flavors to them. These, we're going to have a screaming hot cast iron skillet here. They're not going to need any oil. We're just going to use the fat from the pork chops to get in there. And depending on the thickness of your pork chops, you're going to want to just cook them for about 4 to 5 minutes per side. So they don't need a lot. Pork back in the day was kind of like chicken. You never wanted to eat it, you know, medium or medium rare. Today you can. We kind of have learned some different things. So it's okay if it does have a little bit of pink in the middle. That's not a problem when it comes to pork. So about 4 to 5 minutes per side. Those will cook up, and I'm actually going to swap these out. We'll turn that off. This is going to be very hot at this point, but we've got some already cooked for you. That's more TV magic. And then these, we are just, Reese, is there another clean set of tongs right here? That's all I was looking for. We're just going to get these out of here because I'm going to show you guys how to make this pan sauce. I'll turn this burner back on. There we go. So you can see on these, all the liquid that's come out of them, the fat, we're going to use all of that to make our sauce. So to that, we are going to add, this is, believe it or not, Denigris Dijon mustard. So this is actually just for restaurants at the moment. It's not a retail product just yet, but they, Jason's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a mustard maker out of Dijon, France that uses Denigris white wine vinegar to make the mustard. So yes, for my chefy friends watching, if you want a very high quality Dijon mustard, there you go. This is the apple cider vinegar. And then to sweeten that, we're going to add in some honey as well. So again, we're kind of balancing everything. So you're going to get that nice apple flavor, the Dijon mustard, the sweetness from the honey, the fat from the pork. This is very hot on my hand, right? So we're just going to let this go. So what's happening is when we put the liquid into the hot pan, if this pan was hotter, we would be deglazing it. So it's going to pull up all the brown bits from the pork chops at the bottom of the pan. And that's all flavor, right? That's all stuff that we want in our pan sauce. So we're going to let this cook down. And this might take a little longer than I anticipated. Sorry, Iz. But we want this to reduce a little bit. We want to let it go till it starts to get a little bit more thick. It's going to start to coat the spoon, and the sauce is going to come together. When it does that, we're going to add in about 2 tablespoons of butter, and we'll let that melt in. And this is what's really going to bring it all together. It's going to make a really nice sauce for these pork chops. And you can see it starting to come together there. Well, you can see it. You can smell it, right? Smells good. Smells good? All right. I always wanted smell-o-vision, so I'm really glad there's live people here to at least smell the food, because sometimes I do it and I'm like, man, I really wish they could smell it. And I love cast iron for stuff like, I love cast iron for a lot of reasons, but I love cast iron because it can go stovetop to oven, but I think it's great for searing meat. I think stuff like this comes out really well in it. And honestly, you can get a decent cast iron skillet for like $12. So you don't have to go bananas on the pricing of it. There we go. Now we got a nice simmer going. So we're going to let this simmer down. I'm actually going to have Chef Risa finish this plate for us. We will be back in just a little bit, and I'm going to show you guys how to make a delicious dessert to finish this meal. Yeah, got it. It's hot and heavy.
Hi, Dawn here, the owner of Home Sweet Home, a 100% vegan and gluten-free baking company. Necessity is the mother of invention, they say, and so our non-dairy butter was born. Established in 2013, our non-dairy butter was created because there wasn't an adequate alternative in the market to use in our baked goods. Made with clean ingredients, our non-dairy butter is the first to market soy-free, palm oil-free, and nut-free vegan butter. It is a delicious and healthy alternative. The result is a perfect one-to-one replacement for its traditional dairy counterpart in any application, any recipe. It tastes, melts, spreads, whips, and bakes like butter, only better. It is available in food service and retail sizes. Check us out at home-sweethome.com. It's the dawning of a new butter, everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. I can't thank everybody enough for tuning in. I thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to make a delicious dessert for you guys. So I've been trying to plan a nice fall meal for everybody, but let's be honest, it's still the tail end of summer and stone fruit is still in season. So we're going to be making a really delicious peach dessert this evening. And we're going to be using, this is a brand new product that Denigris has out now. So this is, I'm going to really try not to get this wrong. This is a rosé wine vinegar made in the same method as balsamic vinegar. So it's aged in the same barrels. It's rosé must with rosé wine vinegar. It's nice and sweet. It's got that same kind of thicker consistency that a good balsamic is going to have. And Jason gave some of this to me and let me experiment with it. And we've come up with, I think, a really great recipe for it. So we've got our peaches. With the peaches, you want them to be pretty ripe. And we're just going to half them. So you just go right around. You should be able to, let's see if this works for me. Oh, yes. Just twist them, kind of like an avocado. And you just want to pull your pit out. And in our hot pan, that's the sound we want to hear. We're just going to go face down with those peaches. And again, these really don't need any oil. The sugar and stuff is going to come out and start to caramelize on that cut edge. And that's really all we want to do with these until they turn a nice golden brown color. And then at that point, we're going to make our caramel sauce, if you will. So we're going to be using that rosé balsamic, a little bit of sugar, and then we'll finish things up with some butter. So I just want to let these go long enough. They need a few minutes. Long enough until they start to, again, turn brown. And now I'm going to blank on what I wanted to talk about. But again, I just can't thank you guys enough for being here because truthfully, this has been, it's the first live show, a live audience. Obviously, Denigris is just the best, and we thank them so much for letting us come and absolutely wreck their kitchen. We have made quite the mess here this evening, but I've had a great time. I hope you guys are having a good time. Let's see. All right, there we go. Now we're starting to get a little brown on them. I would let them go a little bit further, but for the sake of TV, we're going to pull these off of here. And the nice part is, so you're going to get, when you let them go a little bit longer, you're going to get some more of those pieces of peaches kind of stuck in the bottom of the pan. Again, we want that because what's going to happen then is as we do this, they're going to all come up. And we'll get that with the sugar. And I'm going to grab another wooden spoon so we don't damage anything. Do I have one? Oh, I'll use a spatula. It's fine. That works too. Don't ever put metal on your nonstick pans. You're just going to scrape the coating off of it. So this same thing. We're going to let this reduce. It's going to actually, this will go relatively quickly when you do it at home. It's only going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. It's basically going to turn into, if you let it go too far, it's going to turn into candy. You'll never get it out of the pan, just FYI. So mistakes made. But just keep an eye on it. Like I said, it's only going to take about 2 to 3 minutes for that sugar to dissolve. This is going to start to thicken up. Is everybody okay? Jason was really worried about my reducing vinegar in this enclosed room that you guys might choke to death. I think they're okay. I think it's just me. I'm fine. Nobody needs me. But again, we're going to let this go. We're going to let it reduce, and then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of butter. A little bit of butter, half a stick. These things are relative. If you've ever had old Italian people give you a recipe, you know, so I'll tell you the story real fast while this is melting down. The very first time I ever made a meatball, for whatever reason, I couldn't get a hold of my mother. So I had to call my grandmother. So I said, Nan, what do I put in the meatballs? And she's going, oh, you know, a little bit of the little cheese, a little fresh herbs, a little breadcrumb, a little this. And I was like, yeah, but how much? She goes, when it smells right. Nan, when it smells right? What do you mean when it smells right? How do I know? She's like, just, you'll know. She's like, and that is literally how I learned to cook. When it feels right, when it looks right, when it smells right. So doing this show and having to write down recipes and put them on a website for everybody is actually the biggest challenge because I have no idea. It's when it looks right, when it smells right, when it feels. That's the only way I ever learned how to cook. So, but there you go. That's how you know. All right, but this is coming together pretty nicely. So our peaches, we're just going to put in these lovely little jars. We'll let this butter come down. And we're going to top these with a little bit of whipped cream that we made earlier. All right. Can't go wrong. Put that over there. We'll let this finish up. All right, guys, we'll let this finish up in our final commercial break. When we come back, we're going to show you the entire meal all together. We're going to thank all of our sponsors one more time, and we're going to say goodnight. We'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cara Falco. I got you covered. Cara's Cucina is a culinary lifestyle brand committed to getting people back in the kitchen. With a passion for food and a talent for storytelling, Cara Falco shares her knowledge as a home cook, integrative nutrition health coach, and broadcast journalist with her viewers.
Cutting an onion is probably one of the most basic kitchen skills you can have. Into the same pan goes all of our veggies. Roll the crust around the pin so it's easy to lift.
Focusing on real, whole food ingredients, family recipes, and the Italian culture's love of La Dolce Vita, the Cucina embodies an overall lifestyle that promotes wellness, family, and the Italian-American community. Find all our recipes on caradefalco.com, watch the Emmy-nominated series on YouTube, and join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
my goodness. Thank you guys so much. What an amazing night. Let me see. I only went 11 minutes over time. We're okay. No, I can't thank you all enough for being here tonight. I so appreciate your love, your support, your time, your effort, your energy. You guys are the reason I do this, because otherwise, who am I talking about? I'm just talking into the abyss otherwise, right? So thank you. I really, truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, it has always been my goal with Cucina to share family recipes, my family recipes. I'm going to try not to cry, Joey. You know, it's, I grew up cooking. I was very blessed. I had 2 grandmothers, a great grandmother, and this is how my family spent our time together. We love you. So I'm very happy. I'm very blessed and proud to share all of this with all of you and to continue to create. I mean, this is, you know, they gave me a wonderful base and a lot of traditions, and we've been able to go from there. Actually, Chef Risa has helped teach me a lot. I used to work in her restaurant, quite frankly. And so with that, I absolutely have to thank my staff this evening. So Risa for helping me out here in the kitchen, Hannah, who's been doing social media for us, Andrew on the camera. We've got Isaac and Pam in the control booth. Truthfully, when we say I get by with a little help from my friends, I mean, this is truly it. Of course, our sponsors, our host, first and foremost, Denigris Vinegars. Thank you guys so much. Jason has worked tirelessly all week, letting us in and out, helping carry things up and down the steps. I mean, he has done so much. I thank you so much. You are a very dear friend, not only to me, but to the show itself. Also to our other sponsors, again, Marcelli Formaggi, Tina Marcelli, Sandra Zotti, we're representing Al Passion Wines. We so appreciate you. Fossil Farms for those beautiful pork chops. Thank you guys so much. Last and certainly not even close to least, my parents, who, again, they thought they retired and they actually went to work for me. So there are no greater fans. There are no better manager, no better bookkeepers, no better nothing than Joe and Marita Falco. So thank you guys so much. Thank you all for tuning in live. I so appreciate it. That is it for Cara's Cucina. Thank you and good night. All right, guys.